A fragile truce under pressure in the Middle East.
Ice Specs out of Minnesota.
And Kennedy Center renovations.
I'm Ula Olson.
And I'm Jackie Lutz. This is SkillsUSA News.
The ceasefire between Israel and Palestine has been called into question after Israeli forces killed 24 Palestinians, including 7 women and 5 children in Gaza last Wednesday. The truce is an attempt to end the 2-year-old war between Israel and Palestine. Yet, since its inception in October, a total of 556 Palestinians have been killed, prompting many in Gaza to express that it feels like the war is continuing unabated. While Israel claims the strikes were in response to Hamas attacks, 8 countries in the Middle East, including Egypt and Qatar, who are mediators of the treaty, condemned Israel's actions, calling them repeated violations of the deal.
The Trump administration is withdrawing 700 ICE officers from Minnesota amidst controversy surrounding the fatal shootings of U.S. citizens Alex Peretti and Renee Good. While a timeline for the removal has not been provided, Border Czar Tom Homan estimated 2,000 agents will remain active in the state. He noted that a widespread pullout will only occur if protesters cooperate with federal agents. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey say this initial reduction is a good first step, but advocate for the termination of the operation entirely.
President Trump announced that he will be closing the Kennedy Center for 2 years to undergo construction, claiming it's outdated and run down. Renovations will begin later this year, but changes have already been made to the facade, including the addition of the president's name to the face of the building, which now reads the Donald J. Trump and the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts. Due to changes in the center's bylaws, only president-approved board members were able to vote on the reconstruction effort, causing controversy and triggering a mass exit of staff, including artistic advisors Ben Folds and Renee Fleming, and Senior Vice President of Artistic Programming Kevin Couch.
In sports news, Anthony Davis is being traded from the Dallas Mavericks to our home team, the Washington Wizards. It's a multiplayer trade between the Wizards and the Mavs that has set Washington back several draft picks. With the addition of Davis, the Wizards expect to have one of the best defensive front courts in the league, making him a worthy trade. While Davis is currently recovering from a hand injury, hopefully he'll return next season to lead Washington to victory. Go Wizards!
Finally, Penny the Doberman Pinscher won Best in Show at the 150th anniversary of the Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show. With over 2,500 dogs competing and more than 200 breeds represented, Penny and her handler, Andy Linton, had their work cut out for them. Despite suffering from Parkinson's disease, Linton achieved his lifelong goal of participating at the famed event and finished with a historic win.
Wow, what an inspiring story. Hey, that kind of reminds me of a joke I know. What do you call a dog that sneezes?
What?
A chihuahua.
Wow, Jackie, you're so funny. For SkillsUSA News, I'm Ula Olson.
And I'm Jackie Lutz. Thanks for watching.
Here for your morning updates with deaths from freezing temperatures, strikes from Israel, renaming of a memorial site, controversial sports decisions, and a sentimental story behind the dog show. All up on today's show. I'm Darren.
And I'm Layla, and this is SkillsUSA News.
Over 110 people have died from freezing temperatures of the winter storm beginning on January 24th. 70,000 homes and businesses have been without power across Mississippi and Tennessee. Now, these temperatures have been below freezing for over a week in the eastern United States, and they are not letting up. Most interstates have now been cleared as of Monday, and snow is still being cleared on other roads.
Another tragic story. Israeli strikes have killed at least 24 Palestinians, including 2 babies in Gaza, where a fragile ceasefire is under increasing pressure. The increasing Palestinian death toll has prompted many in Gaza to feel that the war is continuing unabated. The ceasefire attempted to stop the over 2-year-old war, which began with Hamas's deadly attack on Israel in October 2023. A total of 556 Palestinians, half of them women and children, have been killed by Israel's ceasefire violations since the ceasefire went into effect.
On more breaking news, President Donald Trump renamed the Kennedy Center to the Donald J. Trump and the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts. Trump's name has already been added to the building. This change has led to a wave of cancellations from performers. U.S. law generally prohibits memorializing living figures, which has contributed to even more outcry about this change.
On another note, the Dallas Mavericks are trading Anthony Davis back to the Washington Wizards, along with Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum. In return, Dallas will get Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, Malaki Branham, and Marvin Bagley III. This trade is following the Mavericks' disastrous decision to trade Luka Doncic last season. This brings hope for the Wizards, as having Davis and Trae Young will help their nucleus be more competitive next season. Anthony Davis is recovering from a hand injury, but when healthy is one of the best defenders of his era.
Well, let's hope this trade brings them back. Another sports story, except these competitors have 4 legs instead of 2. The winners for Best of Show at the Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show this year was Penny, a Doberman Pinscher. This is the 150th anniversary of the show, which came with 500 more competitors than the previous year. And it's not just about Penny. Parkinson's disease battler Andy Linton's lifelong dream was to lead his dog Penny to victory, and they did just that.
Now, isn't that just the sweetest?
Well, that's all we have time for you today.
Tune in to Skills USA News tomorrow on your morning commute.
Strikes continue in Gaza despite a ceasefire deal.
The Trump administration pulls 25% of ICE agents from Minnesota.
The Kennedy Center may close for renovations.
And the Anthony Davis is traded in a controversial NBA move.
All this and more
On Skills USA News. The fragile truce in Gaza is now under more tension and strain with the recent rounds of Israeli strikes, killing 5 children, 7 women, and a medic. Multiple neighboring countries have criticized Israel's strikes, calling them repeated violations of the truce. Health officials estimate a total of 556 people have been killed in the Gaza Strip after this deal took place, with half of them being women and children. Israel stated that these attacks were because of the violations of the truce from Hamas, which Wednesday's strikes are response to the militant gunfire which badly wounded a reservist soldier. The truce attempted to halt the ongoing war, which passed its 2-year mark on October 7th.
In more local news, President Trump has announced plans to close the Kennedy Center for 2 years in order to renovate the building. The closure is scheduled to begin on the 4th of July, with construction starting immediately after. This comes with the recent controversies surrounding the building, such as the adding of Trump's name to the exterior and a string of performance cancellations. The inclusion of Trump's name on the building has been cited as very irregular, as U.S. laws and customs usually discourage memorializing a living person. There's currently a lot of pushback against Trump's reforms, so as for now, only time will tell what will become of the Kennedy Center and its performances.
Trump is withdrawing about 25% of the ICE officers deployed in Minnesota after weeks of tension with local government officials. Trump is withdrawing about 700 ICE officers after the criticism of Governor Tim Walz at Minnesota and Mayor of Minneapolis Jacob Frey. He withdrew these officers after fatal confrontations which led to the tragic death of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Our hearts go out to these families during this difficult time. Around 2,000 officers will still remain in Minneapolis to facilitate Trump's efforts of mass deportation.
In the NBA, star player for the Dallas Mavericks, Anthony Davis, was traded to the Washington Wizards. The Washington Wizards believe in a strong defensive front court with Davis, Alex Sarr, and Coulibaly. Wizards star player Trae Young's defense is a liability. However, the defensive backcourt will make up for this. Washington's acquisition of these 2 veteran stars will benefit the Wizards in the future. Due to Davis's hand injury, the Wizards won't be able to play him, which won't diminish the chances of the Wizards in the NBA draft lottery in May.
In other news, a Doberman Pinscher, Penny, has won Best in Show at the 150th Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show. This year was an extraordinary one for the show, welcoming more than 2,500 competitors and over 500 more than last year. Penny's win is a landmark victory for herself and for her breed, but is also for her handler Linton, who is battling Parkinson's disease. The victory represents a fulfillment for a deeply personal goal for Linton of leading his beloved dog around the storied ring.
I wish I could be a dog show judge. They're just so cute.
Me too. What's your favorite breed?
I like Chihuahuas. They're so goofy and sweet.
Well, that's all the time we have. I'm Nama.
And I'm James.
And that's Skills USA News.
Hello, welcome to Skills USA News.
Today we'll be covering subjects such as the continuing situation in Gaza,
The winter storm's repercussions across the eastern U.S.,
the exiling of ICE agents in Minnesota,
layoffs at the Washington Post,
the Anthony Davis trade to the Washington Wizards,
and finally the mystery behind Stonehenge in light of new information.
24 Palestinians were killed in a strike on Wednesday, including 2 babies.
Which is adding to the total of 556 Palestinians killed by Israel since the start of the ceasefire, half of them being women and children.
Israel says the strikes are in response to Hamas' ceasefire violations.
But 8 Arab and Muslim nations recently condemned what they called Israel's repeated violations of this deal.
In nationwide news, there's been more than 110 deaths since January 24th as a result of the winter storm in southeast of the United States.
In Virginia and the Carolinas, more than 70,000 homes and businesses underwent their second week without power. My heart goes out to them.
Yeah, I know it's hard to imagine all those people without power. Storms have also caused severe damage to power lines and utility poles, further restricting electricity throughout the East Coast.
In Tennessee, families mentioned how the power has been out for more than 9 days in some places. And a multitude of areas, we are expected to have temperatures in the teens, about 15.8 degrees Fahrenheit this week.
On a topic of a different kind of ice, 700 agents are being withdrawn from the state of Minnesota, which is about a quarter of the total deployed to the state.
Around 2,000 officers will remain in the state, which is close to the number of people deployed in early January.
Officials say that the officers will be removed when the state and local officials will turn over arrested immigrants. But ICE didn't provide a timeline for when the operation will end, and many Minnesotians are restless after the murder of Renee Good and Alex Preddy.
On another note, the Washington Post recently announced the layoff of 1/3 of their staff, leading to public outcry.
Many people blame the decision due to the leadership transfer to Jeff Bezos in 2013, alongside the company losing roughly $100 million in 2024.
While reporters and alumni showed disdain for the decision, the Washington Post spokesperson claims it's a decisive action for the company's future.
In the sports side of news, Dallas is sending Anthony Davis alongside Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Examen to the Washington Wizards, sending back several draft picks confirmed by The Athletic.
Dallas will also receive a less than favorable 2026 first-round pick from a combination of the LA Clippers, Houston Rockets, and the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Utah Jazz also agreed to the trade for Jaren Jackson Jr., another suburb front court defender.
Lastly, researchers believe that for decades, that the rocks used to build the famous archaeological site Stonehenge were transported by glaciers. But new research contradicts this theory.
The science journal Communications, Earth, and Environment published evidence showing that the mineral grains in the area were not formed by glaciers, meaning the glaciers couldn't have transported the stones to the site.
This evidence corroborates the hypothesis that Salisbury Plain was unglaciated during the Pleistocene era.
The new evidence begs the question, if glaciers didn't move the stones, how did humans transport them in the first place?
And that'll be all for today. Thank you for tuning in to SkillsUSA News.